Hello there, Year Sixes, or should I say new Year Sevens, because that's what you're about to be. Welcome to your English Bridging Unit Lesson 1, the first of 6, that I hope many of you will be completing. You are going to be introduced to 6 really interesting humans over the course of this series of lessons. Each of them comes from a different background, different things that they've experienced, different things that they can teach you, but they all teach you something that will be useful for your transition to secondary school. You're going to learn about them digitally. They've each prepared a video for you, and you'll get to meet them. And after each one, you're going to do a variety of English tasks: reading, writing, debating, researching, on a range of topics that are really interesting, and hopefully by the end of these 6 lessons you'll get a feel for what lessons in English at secondary school might look like and feel like, and the expectations that we might have, but also some important life lessons from some very interesting people along the way. So I would like to take this opportunity to wish you the very best of luck and enjoy. Just a quick mention, you might hear a different voice. I've been working with a colleague called Miss Bucknell, so you might hear her voice on the instructions as well. Enjoy! Each lesson at secondary school will involve understanding what that lesson is all about. So you might see a slide similar to this, where your teacher will talk to you about what you're going to do that lesson, what the different outcomes will be. They'll have different levels of challenge for you, and they might ask a big question. So today's big question is, how lucky are we? You're going to meet someone who lived through a very traumatic experience, really. And I want you to think about, in your lives, what are you grateful for? How are you lucky in your life? And our WAC focus, so written accuracy focus for today, is ambitious vocabulary. I want to be wowed by your vocab. So this is my grandma. I think she's a remarkable, resilient, and formidable person. She's lived through a very, very interesting experience in history. Well, I think it's very interesting anyway. And I interviewed her at a socially safe distance in her garden and asked her to describe some of her experiences living through the Blitz. What I want you to do is watch the video. So you just hover over the video, you'll see a play sign, and then you've got some questions on the next page. Enjoy! At secondary school, we'll often start with the easiest skills of retrieval, which is basically just picking out information from a text. All of these questions are worth 1 mark unless it says specifically name 2 things or 4 things. The other thing is that I've put the questions in the order of the video, so you might want to watch the video again once you've looked at the questions, but they do appear in the order of the video, as lots of questions like this do if you were reading the text. Good luck! So, as with any text or resource that you would be looking at in English, it's really important to look at the wider context, and that's assessment objective 3 when you come to secondary school. And knowing the context behind a story is really useful. So if you were studying a book, for example, you might want to research the time period, who the writer was, what the writer's background was, what was life like for the writer when they were growing up, and what were the major issues in the world when they were writing it. So if you have time, have a pit stop, and I've given you some key terms to look up and a link to a YouTube video for further background so that you can get a really full picture of what my grandma went through. Good luck! So, now that you've got a really good idea of the sorts of things my grandma lived through, what I'd like to do is use that to springboard into a writing task. And your task will be to write a first-person account, either as Mary, my grandma, or another character, describing the night in the Blitz. You could be, like her dad, a fireman, or you could be an air raid warden, or you could be a gunner on the anti-aircraft guns. It's up to you. But before we write, it's absolutely imperative, absolutely important that we do a number of things. Because you can't just jump into writing. You've got to prepare first. So we're going to do a number of tasks over the next few slides to build up a really detailed plan so that when you actually come to write, it will be of a really decent quality. Now, I know that you're only just going to join us in Year 7, but we do need to think about your long-term plans. At secondary school, you are going to be working towards achieving some really good GCSEs, and your teachers will be helping you work towards some really good grades. And so one of the things that the exam board love to see in your writing is some detail. It's the small things that really bring a story alive, to make the reader put it in their head in a really clear way. So what I'd like you to do, mind map, what would your character see, smell, touch, taste, and hear during their night in the Blitz? You've got a few minutes, go. Words are absolutely key to success. If you don't understand a word, then it might stop you from unlocking a whole text. So we'll do a lot of work at secondary school around vocabulary, broadening your vocabulary. And top tip, the best way to do that is to read as much as possible. But for now, what I'd like you to do is look at the word cloud on the slide. There will be some words that you know, some words that you don't. For the ones that you don't, I want you to look them up. So maybe incessant, or the word drone, or maybe the word rubble. Maybe that's a new word for you. So look those words up. I want you to choose 5 really good ones from there that you want to use. I love the word claustrophobic. And then I want you to look up for 5 synonyms, so 5 words that mean the same as scared and loud, because they're boring words and I don't want to see them in your writing. I want to see really interesting options. And the last one is think about that night in the Blitz. Think about the different things that you're going to describe. I want you to look up 10 wow words that you're going to include in your writing. Good luck. Now, one way that writers make their writing interesting is to use imagery. And so I don't want you to just talk about bombs falling, the guns, the explosions. I want you to maybe describe them in a different way. And I've given you some examples on the slide. I want you to do the same, and I want you to add your own. So think about what those different things could be described as, and not just what they could be described as completely differently, but also could you do a simile? What sort of personification are you going to put in? So, are the bombs dancing through the air? Are they gliding like an ice skater? What different descriptions could you include to make your writing just stand out just that little bit more? Have a brainstorm as to what you're going to do. I've worked with some absolutely incredible writers over my career. And the key to all of their success is not just jumping straight into writing. They go in with a clear plan in their head as to what's going to happen and when. So I want you to spend a couple of minutes now planning the main events for a minimum of 4 paragraphs. So I've given you a couple of examples on the screen, but I think Alan Lakin is very, very true. Failing to plan is planning to fail. So get planning now. Just before you start writing, we need to think about what it is that I actually want to see from your writing. You'll do this a lot at secondary school. You'll work out what the success criteria are, and you've probably done it at primary school with your teachers as well. So I want you to, without looking on the next slide, I want you to predict 7 things that your secondary school English teachers will be looking for in your writing. Make a list of bullet points, and once you've got 7, click onto the next slide and see if you were right, and then add on any that you missed out. Good luck! So at secondary school, you're going to have to do something called purple zone. Now, some of you may already do purple zone, so it won't be such a shock to you. But if you don't, purple zone is in every lesson. And what it is it's the hardest part of the lesson where we challenge you, where your brain will hurt just a little bit, but it will hurt. And it's the part where you have to work completely independently from your teachers. You're not allowed to ask questions. And so you need to be aware of this and ask any questions first. Once it starts, it's up to you then. There's no hands up or questions, and you do this in a purple pen. Obviously, for now, you don't have to worry about that, but just as a heads up. So, here we are, the big final task. I want you to write a first-person account describing a night in the Blitz. I want you to get creative. I've given you some sentence starters to get you going. I want you to remember to keep checking those success criteria, tick off your vocab ideas, and use your plan. And get in those finer details, those small details, the senses, the descriptive layers. Show off what you can do. I'm really interested to see how you do. Give yourself a good amount of time to do this and take pride in it. Really, really show off what you're capable of. Good luck. Well done, Year 6. Sorry, New Year 7s. You've come to the end of your first English lesson. Now, at the end of lots of lessons, as I'm sure you do in primary school, you do a little reflection on how far you've come in that lesson. Now, you're going to be filling in your reflection sheets, and that's really important. But the two reflections that I'd like you to do for this lesson are, number one, I'd like you to label your work where you smash the success criteria. Which are your best bits? Underline them. Highlight them in yellow highlighter. Really go to town. Be proud of your achievements. And then the second one is, what did Mary's experience teach you about your life and the world around you? Has it given you a sense of perspective? Has it made you grateful for something? Thank you very much for your hard work this lesson, and I will see you in lesson 2. Bye!